Waking up at 4 a.m. doesn't make you disciplined, it makes you tired. I know that sounds crazy, especially when every productivity guru on the internet is showing you their 4 a.m. morning routine, telling you that's the secret to success. But here's the truth. Some of the most disciplined, highest performing people you've ever heard of don't wake up early. And the ones who do, that's not why they're successful. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to completely change how you think about discipline and productivity. You're going to discover why forcing yourself to wake up at some arbitrary time is actually destroying your performance. And more importantly, you'll learn the real system that elite performers use to maximize their output, whether they wake up at 4 a.m. or 10 a.m. This isn't just my opinion. This is backed by chronobiology research, used by Olympic athletes, Navy SEALs, and CEOs running billion-dollar companies. The difference? They've figured out something that the morning routine cult doesn't want you to know. Here's what I need you to do. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to give you a specific 24-hour energy mapping protocol that will let you unlock more productivity in 1 week than you've had in the last 6 months. But you have to understand the foundation first, or you'll just keep torturing yourself with alarm clocks and coffee, wondering why you still feel like you're falling behind. Let's crack this myth wide open. You set your alarm for 5 a.m. Tomorrow's going to be different. You've watched the videos, read the books, heard the success stories. You're going to become a morning person. You're going to join the 5 a.m. club. You're finally going to have your life together. The alarm goes off. It's dark. It's cold. Every cell in your body is screaming at you to go back to sleep. But you do it. You drag yourself out of bed, stumbling to the kitchen like a zombie. You make your coffee. You sit down at your desk, and you stare at your computer screen with the mental clarity of a goldfish. By 10 a.m., you're already exhausted. By 2 p.m., you're in a complete brain fog. By 8 p.m., you're passed out on the couch, unable to do anything productive, telling yourself you'll try again tomorrow. Sound familiar? You've been told that discipline means doing hard things, that if you can just force yourself to wake up early, everything else will fall into place, that successful people are successful because they wake up before everyone else and get a head start on the day. You've been told that if you're not a morning person, you're just making excuses, that you're lazy, that you lack willpower, that real discipline means overriding your body's natural rhythms and just pushing through. So you keep trying. You keep setting that alarm earlier and earlier. You keep drinking more coffee. You keep forcing yourself through groggy, unproductive mornings, convinced that this is what discipline looks like. But here's what's actually happening. You're in a war with your own biology, and you're losing. Every time you wake up before your body is ready, you're triggering a stress response. Your cortisol levels spike. Your decision-making ability plummets. Your impulse control weakens. And ironically, you become less disciplined throughout the rest of your day because you've already depleted your mental resources just getting out of bed. Think about it. You're spending 2 to 3 hours every morning operating at maybe 30% capacity, telling yourself you're being productive because you're awake early. Meanwhile, you could have slept those extra 2 hours, woken up naturally, and operated at 90% capacity for the actual productive hours that match your biology. You've been sold a lie. And it's not just hurting your productivity, it's destroying your relationship with discipline itself. Because every time you fail to maintain that 4 a.m. routine, and you will fail because it's unsustainable for most people, you internalize that failure. You tell yourself you're not disciplined enough, you're not committed enough, you don't want it badly enough. But the real problem? You've been measuring discipline by the wrong metric entirely. Here's where it gets interesting. The whole wake up early movement started because some successful people happen to wake up early. But that's correlation, not causation. It's like saying, successful people wear shoes, therefore wearing shoes makes you successful. The billionaire CEO who wakes up at 4 a.m. isn't successful because of their wake time. They're successful because they've mastered something completely different, something that works whether you wake up at 4 a.m. or noon. And once you understand what that actually is, you'll realize you've been torturing yourself for nothing. The traditional advice about morning routines makes one massive, fatal assumption that everyone's biology works the same way, that we all have the same natural rhythms, that we all have our peak performance hours at the same time, but we don't. Some people are genuinely wired to wake up early and hit the ground running. Their circadian rhythm, their cortisol patterns, their body temperature curves, everything aligns for early morning performance. These people aren't more disciplined than you. They're just lucky that society's schedule matches their biology. Other people, maybe you, are wired completely differently. Your brain doesn't fully come online until 10 a.m. Your peak cognitive performance happens at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. or midnight. Your most creative hours are in the evening. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a character flaw, it's biology, but nobody tells you this. Instead, they tell you to fight your biology. They tell you that's what discipline means. And so you keep trying. Keep failing. Keep feeling inadequate. Let me ask you something. If you're forcing yourself to work during your biological low-performance hours, missing out on sleep your body desperately needs, and then wondering why you can't stick to your goals, who's really undisciplined here? You or the system you're following? The answer is going to change everything for you. Real discipline isn't about forcing yourself to work when your body and brain aren't ready. Real discipline is about designing your life around your peak performance windows and protecting them ruthlessly. Let me say that again because this is the core of everything. Discipline is energy management, not time management. Think about a Formula One race car. You could take that car and try to race it in a swimming pool. And it wouldn't matter how skilled the driver is, the car isn't going to perform. It's the wrong environment, but put that same car on a proper track. Suddenly it's unstoppable. Your brain works the same way. It has environments and times where it performs at an elite level, and it has times where it's basically that race car in a swimming pool, struggling, inefficient, burning resources just to barely move forward. Elite performers don't fight this, they optimize for it. David Goggins, the guy everyone points to as the ultimate discipline example, doesn't actually force himself to do everything at 4 a.m. He tracks when his body performs best for different tasks and structures his day accordingly. His long runs happen when his body temperature and pain tolerance are optimal. His strategic thinking happens during his mental peak hours. Elon Musk has talked about this. He doesn't wake up at some prescribed time. He wakes up when his body is done sleeping, then he stacks his highest leverage work during his peak hours. Everything else gets delegated or automated. LeBron James spends more money on sleep optimization than most people make in a year. Why? Because he understands that his performance on the court is directly tied to his recovery and his natural circadian rhythm. He's not trying to override his biology, he's optimizing it. Here's what the research actually shows. There's a field called chronobiology, the study of biological rhythms. And what scientists have discovered is that humans fall into different chronotypes. You've probably heard of morning larks and night owls, but it's more nuanced than that. Your chronotype determines when your body releases cortisol, when your body temperature peaks, when your reaction time is fastest, when your analytical thinking is sharpest, when your creative thinking flows best. All of this is largely genetic. You're born with it. And here's the kicker, only about 20–25% of people are actually true morning chronotypes. The majority of people have their peak cognitive performance between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. or even later. Some people genuinely hit their stride at 8 p.m. But we live in a society designed by and for morning people. School starts at 8 a.m., offices start at 9 a.m. If you're not a morning person, you've been forced to operate during your lowest performance hours for your entire life. No wonder you feel undisciplined. You've been racing a Formula One car in a swimming pool and wondering why everyone else seems to be going faster. So what's the alternative? The alternative is to stop trying to become someone you're not and start optimizing who you actually are. Real discipline looks like this. You figure out your biological prime time. You protect those hours like they're sacred. You structure your most important work, the stuff that actually moves the needle in your life, during those windows. And you stop wasting energy trying to be productive during times when your brain literally isn't built to perform. Let me tell you about a programmer I know. Let's call him Marcus. For years, Marcus tried to force himself into the traditional schedule. Wake up at 6 a.m., get to the office by 9 a.m., try to code in the morning. He was constantly stressed, constantly behind, constantly feeling like he wasn't disciplined enough. Then he did something radical. He tracked his actual output for a month. Not when he was sitting at his desk, when he actually produced quality code, and he discovered something shocking. Between 6 a.m. and noon, he barely wrote anything useful, but between 8 p.m. and midnight, he was a machine, clear thinking, creative solutions, flow state. So he restructured his entire life. He started sleeping from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. He handled emails and meetings in the afternoon, and he coded from 8 p.m. to midnight during his biological prime time. His output tripled, his stress dropped to nothing. His boss didn't care because he was suddenly the highest performer on the team. That's real discipline, not forcing himself to fight his biology, optimizing his life around his biology. Here's another example from a completely different domain. There's a writer who won a Pulitzer Prize. She's talked in interviews about how she tried for years to write in the morning because that's what all the writing advice said. Get up early, right before the world wakes up. She was miserable. She'd force herself through it, producing mediocre work, constantly hitting writer's block. Then she gave herself permission to write at 10 p.m. That's when her brain came alive. That's when the words flowed. That's when she entered that creative state where the story just poured out of her. She wrote her Pulitzer-winning book almost entirely between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Was she undisciplined for not waking up at 4 a.m.? Or was she actually more disciplined because she had the self-awareness and courage to structure her life around her actual performance windows instead of someone else's arbitrary rules? This is the shift I need you to make. Discipline isn't about suffering. It's not about forcing yourself to do things the hard way just to prove you can. It's about being so committed to your goals that you're willing to optimize every variable in your favor, including when you work. The 4 a.m. crowd will tell you that waking up early builds character, that the suffering is the point, that if it's not hard, you're not disciplined. But let me ask you this. If you had two paths to your goal, one where you torture yourself daily and make slow, painful progress, and one where you work with your biology and make rapid, sustainable progress, which one is actually more disciplined? The person who chooses the harder path for the sake of being hard, or the person who chooses the effective path and stays on it consistently? Real discipline is about results, not performance. It's about actually achieving your goals, not just looking like you're trying really hard. And the beautiful irony, when you stop fighting your biology and start working with it, discipline becomes easier. Not because you're taking the easy path, but because you're finally giving yourself the conditions you need to succeed. You're not weak for struggling with 4 a.m. wake-ups. You're human. And the most disciplined thing you can do is accept your humanity and optimize around it. Now let's break down exactly how to implement this new understanding of discipline. There are 5 core principles that transform how you approach productivity once you understand that discipline is about energy management, not time management. Principle 1. Identify your chronotype. You need to know who you actually are before you can optimize who you are. Your chronotype isn't just whether you're a morning person or a night person. It's a detailed map of when your body and brain perform different functions best. There are 4 main chronotypes: lions, bears, wolves, and dolphins. Lions are the true early risers. They wake up naturally around 5 or 6 a.m., peak before noon, and crash by 9 p.m. Bears follow the sun, they're most people, waking around 7 a.m., peaking mid-morning to early afternoon. Wolves are the evening people. They struggle before 10 a.m., hit their stride in the late afternoon and evening. Dolphins are the insomniacs, irregular sleep patterns, often high achievers, but constantly fighting their system. Most people are bears or wolves. If you've been trying to force yourself into a lion routine, you're literally fighting your genetic programming. Here's how you identify yours. For 1 week, don't set an alarm. I know that's not practical for most people, so do this on vacation or over a long weekend. Let your body wake up naturally. Track when you actually feel alert, when your brain feels clearest, when creative ideas come to you, when you feel most motivated to exercise. You'll see patterns emerge. Maybe you're completely useless before 10 a.m. but unstoppable from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's your data. That's your truth. Stop fighting it. One executive I know discovered he's a wolf chronotype. For years, he tried to do his strategic planning first thing in the morning because that's what he thought disciplined leaders did. But he was just going through the motions, making mediocre decisions. Now, he protects 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for his highest leverage thinking. Morning time is for emails, calls, and low-stakes decisions. The result? Better decisions, less stress, more clarity. That's not luck, that's optimization. Principle 2. Design your environment around your peak windows. Once you know your chronotype, you need to protect your peak performance windows like your life depends on it. Because in a very real sense, your goals do. This means restructuring your day. If you're a wolf, you need to fight for the right to work during your evening hours. If you're a bear, you need to protect that 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. window from meetings and interruptions. Your peak hours are for your highest leverage work, not emails, not meetings, not busy work. The stuff that actually moves the needle, the creative work, the strategic thinking, the deep focus tasks. Everything else gets scheduled around those hours. A graphic designer I know had this problem. She's a wolf chronotype, useless in the morning, incredible in the evening. But her agency had a 9-to-5 culture. She was expected to be in the office, doing client work during traditional hours. She was burning out, missing deadlines, producing work she wasn't proud of. So she made a proposal to her boss. She'd come in at noon, work until 8 p.m. Her most important designs work would happen from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. when her brain was actually firing. She'd handle emails and admin in the early afternoon. Her boss was skeptical, but agreed to a trial. Within a month, she was producing better work than she had in years. Faster turnaround, more creative solutions. Clients were happier. That's what happens when you stop fighting biology and start optimizing it. Now I know what you're thinking. I can't just restructure my entire schedule. I have a job. I have responsibilities. I get it. But here's the thing, you have more flexibility than you think. Maybe you can't change your work hours, but you can change what you do during those hours. Schedule your deep work for your peak windows, even if that's within traditional hours. Save your low-stakes tasks for your low-energy times. And if you truly have zero flexibility, then you need to look at your life and ask yourself if staying in that situation is worth sacrificing your potential. Because you're in a system that's designed to keep you operating at 50% capacity. Principle 3. Implement energy cycling. Your energy isn't constant throughout your peak window. You have ultradian rhythms, 90 to 120-minute cycles of high and low energy throughout the day. Elite performers don't try to push through 8 straight hours of work. They work in sprints aligned with these natural cycles. Here's how it works. You identify your peak window, let's say it's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Within that window, you work in 90-minute sprints with 15-20-minute breaks in between. During the sprint, you're all in, phone off, notifications off, door closed, deep work only. During the break, you actually rest, not scroll social media, not check email. Rest, walk, breathe, stare out a window, let your brain reset. This is how you get more done in 4 focused hours than most people get done in 8 distracted hours. A consultant I know used to work 10-hour days and feel exhausted and unproductive. She switched to this model, 2 90-minute sprints during her peak hours in the morning, a real lunch break, then 1 more sprint in the afternoon. She's now working 5 to 6 hours a day and billing more than she ever did working 10. Her clients are happier because her work is better, and she has energy left over for her life. That's not magic. That's understanding how your brain actually works and designing around it. The key is honoring the breaks. Most people try to push through. They think taking breaks is lazy, but your brain needs those recovery periods. That's when it consolidates learning, processes information, and recharges for the next sprint. Skipping breaks isn't discipline, it's stupidity. You're just borrowing energy from your future self and wondering why you're always exhausted. Principle 4. Align your tasks with your energy. States, not all work requires the same type of energy. Creative work needs a different brain state than analytical work. Strategic thinking needs different conditions than execution. Once you understand your chronotype and your peak windows, you need to go deeper. Map different types of tasks to different energy states throughout your day. Here's a framework. You have 4 types of work: creative, analytical, administrative, and social. Creative work is writing, designing, strategizing, problem solving. This requires flow state, low stress, high focus. Analytical work is data analysis, financial planning, reviewing contracts. And this requires precision and logic. Administrative work is emails, scheduling, organizing. This doesn't require peak brain power. Social work is meetings, calls, networking. This requires social energy, not cognitive energy. For most people, creative work is best during your biological peak. Analytical work can happen slightly outside that window. Administrative work is perfect for your low-energy times. Social work depends on your personality. Introverts might need peak energy for this. Extroverts might find it energizing during low periods. A founder I know restructured his entire week around this. He's a bear chronotype with a creative peak from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So that's when he does product development and strategic planning. His analytical work, reviewing metrics, financial planning, happens 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. His admin work happens 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. when he's still waking up. And he stacks all his meetings on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, keeping Monday, Wednesday, Friday clear for deep work. His productivity skyrocketed, but more importantly, work stopped feeling like a constant uphill battle. That's what happens when you stop treating all hours as equal and start playing to your actual energy patterns. Principle 5. Protect your recovery. This is the most overlooked aspect of discipline. Everyone talks about hustle and grind. Nobody talks about recovery. But here's the truth. Your peak performance windows only exist because you have recovery windows. You can't have peaks without valleys. If you're trying to operate at 100% all the time, you'll actually operate at 60% all the time. Elite athletes understand this. They train hard. Then they rest hard. They don't just sleep 8 hours, they optimize their sleep. They take ice baths, they get massages. They have entire recovery protocols. You need the same approach for cognitive work. This means protecting your sleep. Not just quantity, but quality and timing. If you're a wolf, don't try to sleep at 10 p.m. just because that's what society says is healthy. You'll just lie there stressing. Sleep when your body is ready to sleep and get your full sleep cycle. This means taking real breaks during your day. Not just switching from work email to personal email, actually disconnecting, even for 10 minutes. This means having downtime where you do nothing productive. Read fiction, watch TV, go for a walk with no purpose. Your brain needs time when it's not optimizing or achieving or learning. An entrepreneur I know used to sleep 5 to 6 hours a night bragging about his hustle. He crashed hard at 35. Burnout, health problems, business suffered. He rebuilt his life around recovery. 8 hours of sleep, non-negotiable. 1 full day off per week where he doesn't even check email. Regular breaks throughout his workday. His business grew. His health came back. His marriage improved. He's working fewer hours and making more impact. Recovery isn't the opposite of discipline. Recovery is what makes discipline sustainable. All right, let's make this practical. Here's exactly how to implement everything you just learned, starting today. Step 1. Complete your chronotype assessment. This week, for the next 7 days, track your energy. You don't need fancy tools, just a simple note on your phone. Every 2 hours, rate your energy from 1 to 10. Note when you feel most alert, when you feel most creative, when you feel most motivated. Also track your natural wake time on any days you don't have an alarm. Track when you naturally get sleepy at night. By the end of the week, you'll have a clear map of your biological rhythms. You'll know if you're a lion, bear, wolf, or dolphin. You'll know your peak windows. Don't skip this step. You can't optimize what you don't measure. Step 2. Identify your 3 most important tasks. Look at your goals. What are the 3 to 5 tasks that, if you did them consistently, would actually change your life? Not the busy work. Not the stuff that feels urgent but isn't important. The real leverage tasks. For a writer, it might be write new material, edit existing work, pitch to publications. For an entrepreneur, it might be develop product, sales calls, strategic planning. For someone trying to get in shape, it might be strength training, meal prep, recovery work. These are your peak hour tasks. Everything else is secondary. Step 3. Redesign your schedule. Around your peak windows, take your peak windows from step 1 and block them off for your high leverage tasks from step 2. This is non-negotiable time. Treat it like you treat a meeting with the most important person in your life. If you have a traditional job and can't change your hours, find your peak windows within your work schedule and protect them. Tell your boss you need 10 a.m. to noon, uninterrupted for deep work. Close your door. Turn off notifications. Do your highest value work. Schedule everything else around those windows. Emails in your low energy times. Meetings in your moderate energy times. Administrative work when your brain is fried. For the first week, just try to honor this 50% of the time. You don't have to be perfect, just better than you were. Step 4. Implement the 90-minute sprint protocol. Within your peak windows, work in 90-minute sprints. Set a timer. Go all in. No distractions, no multitasking, just you and the work. After 90 minutes, take a 15-minute break. And I mean a real break. Stand up, move your body, look at something in the distance, get water, don't look at screens. Then sprint again if you're still in your peak window. Most people will find they can do 2, maybe 3 sprints per day. That's 4.5 hours of actual focused work. That's more real productivity than most people get in a full week of distracted half work. Step 5. Create your recovery protocol. Decide right now what your non-negotiables are for recovery. Here are mine, and you should adapt them to your life. Sleep 7 to 9 hours per night, aligned with your chronotype. If you're a wolf, that might mean sleeping 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's fine. Stop fighting it. 1 full day per week with no work. Not light work, no work. Real breaks during work sprints, no screens, no productivity content, no optimization, just rest. 1 activity per day that's purely for enjoyment. Reading, gaming, cooking, whatever. Something that's not improving you or making you better. Just being. Write these down. Put them in your calendar. Protect them like you'd protect your most important meeting. Step 6. Audit and adjust after 2 weeks. After implementing this for 2 weeks, look at your data, what worked or what didn't. Are you actually more productive during your identified peak windows? Do you need to adjust the timing? This isn't a one-time thing. You're building a system that works for you specifically. It might take a few iterations to dial it in. The goal isn't perfection, the goal is progress. You're looking to be 10% better than you were last week, not to completely transform overnight. Common mistakes. To avoid mistake 1, trying to change everything at once. Start with just protecting your peak windows for your most important work. Everything else can be messy while you build this habit. Mistake 2, feeling guilty for not waking up early. Let that go. You're not competing with anyone else's schedule. You're optimizing yours. Mistake 3, neglecting recovery because it feels unproductive. Recovery is productive. It's what allows you to have peaks at all. Mistake 4, thinking this doesn't apply to you because your job requires you to work certain hours. Even with constraints, you can optimize within those constraints. You have more control than you think. What to expect? First week, you'll feel weird. You're breaking a pattern. Your brain will try to pull you back to old habits. Push through, track your energy religiously. Second week, you'll start to notice the difference. Your high leverage work will feel easier. You'll have more energy at the end of the day. You'll wonder why you didn't do this sooner. First month, this will start to feel normal. You'll have rebuilt your relationship with discipline. It won't be about forcing yourself anymore. It'll be about optimizing yourself. 3 months. You'll look back at how you used to work and feel almost sad for your past self. You'll have achieved more in 3 months than you did in the previous year. And you'll have done it with less stress. This isn't magic. This is just what happens when you stop fighting biology and start working with it. Let's bring this home. The 4 a.m. myth is just that, a myth. It's the productivity equivalent of wearing lucky socks. It might work for some people, but not because of the wake time, because they've accidentally aligned their routine with their biology. Real discipline isn't about wake times. It's not about suffering. It's not about forcing yourself to be someone you're not. Real discipline is about knowing yourself so deeply that you can design a life that works with your biology, not against it. It's about protecting your peak performance windows like they're sacred, because they are. It's about having the courage to do what actually works for you, even if it looks different from what everyone else is doing. You're not undisciplined because you can't maintain a 4 a.m. wake-up. You're just human. And the most disciplined thing you can do is accept your humanity and optimize around it. Stop fighting yourself. Stop trying to be a morning person if you're not. Stop measuring your worth by how early you wake up. Start measuring your discipline by results. Are you consistently doing your highest leverage work? Are you making progress toward your goals? Are you building a life that's sustainable and fulfilling? That's real discipline. Not alarm clocks, not suffering. Progress. You're not broken. You're not weak. You've just been using the wrong map. Now you have the right one. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, before you close this video, before you scroll to the next thing, commit to the 7-day energy tracking experiment. That's it. Just track your energy for 7 days. See when you're actually at your best. Give yourself permission to design around that truth. If this landed for you, if you felt something shift, subscribe to Cracking Discipline. We're building a community of people who understand that real discipline isn't about being someone you're not. It's about becoming the best version of who you actually are. And next, watch the video where I break down the psychology of why willpower fails and what elite performers do instead. It'll complete everything you just learned here. You've got this. Not because you're going to force yourself to wake up at 4 a.m., but because you're going to stop fighting yourself and start optimizing yourself. That's real discipline. And you're about to prove it.